So how do you know if you go to a black church or a church that has black people? For a reminder and a basis point, when I say the black church, I'm talking about that church that is a perverted strain of Christianity that's not Christianity, that preaches another gospel, that preaches a black liberation, the Marxist critical theory thought, that theology. When I say the black church, that is what I'm referring to. So how do you know if you go to one of those kinds of churches? Well, first off, let's keep it simple. More than likely, your church in its name has either Mount Moriah, Mount Zion, Mount Carmel, any kind of mount. More than likely, you go to a black church. Another way, during Black History Month, the pastor and the congregation would dress up in their dashikis. Not saying there's nothing wrong with remembering Black history and honoring Black history, but you don't have to go to the extreme of dressing up in a dashiki. That's how you know if you go to a black church. The pastor is a part of a black Greek letter organization. If your pastor is a part of a black Greek letter organization, you go to a black church. Another way, you go to church at 10 and you don't get out till 1 o'clock. Your services last more than an hour. You go to a black church. Now, I know there are some other churches that last more than an hour, but by and large, black churches last at the minimum 2 hours. Now let's get to the nitty gritty, how you really know if you go to a black church. If your church preaches about oppression and victimization all the time, pretty much every Sunday, you go to a black church. If your pastor is cussing from the pulpit, which I've seen a lot of lately, you go to a black church. If your pastor is promoting DEI, if your pastor is constantly talking about what President Trump is doing to you, you go to a black church. If your pastor allows a Democratic presidential candidate to parade through their aisle, and not only parade through their aisle, but allows them to stand in the pulpit and preach, you go to a black church. And my final point when it comes to whether or not you go to a black church, you have less than 10 members that are Caucasian. I say all that to say, as believers, we shouldn't go to a quote unquote black church. We should go to a church that's focused on preaching the gospel of Jesus Christ, the kingdom agenda of Jesus Christ. That's the kind of church we should go to, because any other kind of church makes us victims. And we're not victims. We are empowered for greatness. So let me know what you think in the comments. What are some other ways that identify whether or not you go to a black church?